Hi friends, welcome back to Amy Bakes. I'm Amy and today we are going to make a wonderful recipe. We are going to make cinnamon raisin bread. This is a recipe that my mom gave me, I don't know, 30 years ago. So it's one that I've always made. So let's go over the list of ingredients and supplies we're going to need. Okay, today we are going to need 2 packages of active dry yeast, and I just buy it in bulk. And so I have a teaspoon measure that is specifically for yeast, and 1 package of dry yeast would be 2¼ teaspoons. And so we're going to need 2 of those. But if you're buying just the regular Fleischmann's, you'll need 2 packages of active dry. We will also need a 1/4 cup of sugar, 5 to 6 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 cups of milk, 3 eggs, a 1/4 cup of butter, and we will need 3 cups of raisins. We will also need some additional sugar and cinnamon, which I still need to pull out. And if you're going to do a glaze on the top of the bread, then you would need an orange and some powdered sugar, and then you will need some vegetable oil to spray your pans down with. For supplies, you're going to need your stand mixer with a paddle attachment. You will need something to rise your bread in. You're going to need 2 loaf pans, a saucepan. If you are doing the glaze, then you will need a zester for your orange, a rack to dry, and you will need a couple measuring cups. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is put 3 cups of flour and the yeast in our bowl here. Now, typically in other videos, you've seen me talk about spooning out the flour like this and then leveling it off when you're done. Bread is a whole different animal. So I am not as particular on bread about spooning the flour in because there's no exact measurement on the flour. There's so many different factors, humidity and all kinds of stuff just plays a factor in the amount of flour that you will use in a bread recipe. So that's why the recipe actually says 5 to 6 cups because there's no exact. So I'm just going to go ahead and spoon in or, scoop up 3 cups here. As I'm kneading it, that's how I'm going to determine how much flour I need. So I'm not going to get hung up on spooning and measuring this. And then we're going to need 2 packages. And if you're using bulk, it would be 1 package is 2¼ teaspoon. So you would need double that. And just mix that in there. And then we're going to heat up our milk. And you can give this a good stir. In our saucepan, we're going to put 2 cups of milk along with our sugar, butter, and salt. So we are going to need a 1/4 cup of butter, which is half a stick. We're going to need 2 teaspoons of salt and a 1/4 cup of sugar. And then we're going to heat that up until it is warm and the butter is almost melted. And hang on just a minute and I'll get that temperature for you. Because you do want to check the temperature. You don't want that to overheat. So you're going to want that, I believe, to be around 100 to 110 degrees. Okay, I double checked that temperature. It is between 100 and 110. So you want to make sure that you measure that. Also, when you're heating milk, you want to make sure that you're stirring constantly because if not, you will end up with the little burnt black flecks that come up and then you'll have to just dump it out and start over. And now in this milk, I did use vanilla sugar because this is a sweet bread recipe. And so you are going to see some little tiny flecks, but that's actually vanilla. What you're going to see in this one. But just be sure that you continue and you stir it. And you can see that butter is starting to melt. So I'll turn this down just a little bit and then get a temperature check on that. Okay, that is just over 100, so that's perfect. We're going to turn that heat off and take that off the heat. And now we're going to take this mixture and we are going to stir it in to the yeast. Okay, and that butter will continue to melt. We're going to turn that on. low and mix that in really good. Okay, the next step is we're going to add our 3 eggs, and then we're going to turn the mixer back on, and we are going to beat that for about 3 minutes, and you're going to just kind of stop it occasionally and scrape down the side of the bowl to make sure that you get everything good and mixed in. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to add in 3 cups of raisins. And then you're going to turn this back on and get that good and mixed in. You don't want to do your raisins after because they're not going to mix in there. So you really have to make sure that you put your raisins in now. Get that really good and mixed in. And now we're going to add some more flour to it. Okay, we have already used about 3 cups of flour. I'm just going to add another little bit. Now I'm going to mix this in, and then when this becomes stiffer, I'm going to turn this out and knead this. All right, that's not quite ready, so we're going to add some more flour. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take the paddle off since you can see it's starting to climb up there. And I'm just going to put that in the sink, and I'm going to do the rest of this by hand. As you can see, this is a super thick dough, and it still needs a little bit more flour because that is really way too wet. So I'm going to go ahead and flour my surface here, and I'm going to go ahead and start kneading this, and this is going to be very messy, so this is one that you're going to want to take your rings off. Okay, I generously floured my surface here, and now I'm just going to spoon this out and start kneading. That is a big bunch of sticky dough. So now we're going to knead this in. I'm just going to kind of turn it. And you knead this just like you do any other bread. You just press it in like this, and you want to press the heel of your hand in there and just keep rotating it and pressing it and rotating it and pressing it. This one is going to be a thicker dough than the sandwich bread, the loaf bread that we've done. So it's going to be a little stiffer. And you're just going to have to work this in until you get that right consistency. And that's where I was mentioning on the flour, there's no exact amount. You just got to work it, and you got to feel it with your hands. It'll be slightly tacky, but not actually sticky. As you can see right now, it's still sticky. So I'm just going to continue adding flour and kneading until I get it just to that right consistency of where I want it. Okay, it is starting to shape up a little bit. It's still a little bit tacky, but it's not sticky like it was. So I'm going to knead this just a little bit longer. As you can see, this makes quite a bit. So on this one, it's going to make 2 nice sized loaves. Just a little bit more flour. So on this one, you can keep a loaf for yourself. You can gift a loaf. It actually makes a wonderful Christmas gift. And if you have some jams or something like that, you can go with it. So it makes a great Christmas gift. One of these loaves we're going to keep, and another one I'm going to give to a friend of mine that's going to come over today. But on this one, for your bread pans, you're going to need the 9x5 pan. These loaves are going to be too big to go in the 8x4. So you're definitely going to want those larger pans for larger loaf pans for this particular recipe. This was my dad's favorite bread of all the breads that I made. He'd love it. I'd make him a loaf, and he'd take it to work and share it with all the guys at work. So they always loved it when I made cinnamon bread at his work too, because they got to partake. And it's one that I used to do every week. So every week we would have a loaf at home, and then Daddy would be able to take a loaf to his crew at work. There we go. This is looking really good. So this is looking pretty good. You can see it's a little bit tacky, but not real sticky. Nice. It's a stiff dough. I don't know if you can see that. See, that sticks just a little bit. You don't have to have it to where it's perfect and it doesn't stick when you press into it. This actually looks perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to rise this bread now. I'm going to use my thing here that I got at Costco, and I'm going to spray the side down, and I'm going to put it in and then flip it so that both sides get greased, and then we're going to put it in a warm place, and we're going to rise this for about an hour. I'm actually going to use my oven because it has a proof setting. If you don't have that on your oven, you can put it in the oven with the light on. That'll generate enough heat. You can also put it on your water heater. That also generates some heat, or on top of the refrigerator. Just put it in a warm spot and let it rise for about an hour. And you want that to double. So we are looking at just at about 2 quarts. So we want this to rise up to about 4 quarts. Okay, I'm going to put that lid on there, and then we're just going to put this in the oven on proof and let it rise for an hour. All right, this is perfect. That doubled up nicely. So what we're going to do is we're going to open that, and we're going to punch this and then just let that rest for a minute. I'm going to clean my hands, and then we're going to make the cinnamon sugar. Okay, now we're going to take about 1/4 cup of sugar, maybe a little more, and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and we're going to mix this up. Okay. And then what we're going to do is divide that dough into 2 pieces. And I did forget to mention you're going to need a rolling pin. So if you've got one of those, you're going to need to roll that dough out. All right, let me move this out of the way. Okay. All right, here we go. So we are going to divide this into 2. Look at that. That's a lot of bread dough. These make big loaves of bread. Now, if you want to be absolutely perfect on this, you can weigh your different dough balls to make sure that they're even. I just kind of eyeball it. So it looks like it needs a little bit more. There we go. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to roll this out. Okay. Just like that. And I just kind of lift it after I roll it and relax it. Okay, there's one. And then we're going to do the same over here to the second one. Now we're going to sprinkle our cinnamon and sugar on here, and we're going to be careful not to get right along the edge. So we're just going to kind of do your best to avoid that. Just kind of go about 1 inch in. If you get a little on there, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Just going to sprinkle that on there on both loaves, or on both pieces. As evenly as you can. And the next one. And on this one, I'm also using the vanilla caster sugar again. There we go. And then we're going to roll these up. So we've got the cinnamon sugar on there, and now real quickly I'm just going to spray these pans. And remember, I said you're going to want the 9 by 5 pans not the 8x4. You're going to want that larger loaf pan for this one. So we're going to prepare both of those. Y'all are going to have to pardon my voice. It's a little scratchy and off. Both my daughter and I have had the flu, and we've been over it for a little over a week now, but we both still have this this cough and shortness of breath. And I tell you, kneading that dough made me feel like Darth Vader when I started breathing heavy. So what we're going to do now is we're going to roll these up. Now, if you remember when we did the bread dough, the sandwich dough, we did tiny little turns and we pinched along the way to seal it. You can't do that with this bread because of the cinnamon and sugar. So you're going to want to roll this as tightly as possible. And you're just going to have to do the best you can on that. And so one little trick is if you've got a spray bottle of water, just lightly mist it. Very so lightly. And then when you roll, you're going to start and then just kind of pick it up and pull it towards you, because you're going to want to get this as tight as you can. Okay? So just as tight as you can, and just kind of pull it towards you a little bit. Maybe after every little roll or partial roll, do a quarter of a roll and pull it, quarter of a roll, pull it, quarter of a roll, pull it. And I'll turn the other loaf around and let you see that a little bit better. Then when you get to the end, you're going to just pinch those seams together. Okay. And there we go. This is about twice the size of a sandwich loaf. So there you go. Just like that. Now when you cut that, that's going to be a beautiful little spiral. It's going to look so nice. And it's going to taste so good. Okay, so now we're going to put one in here. And let me turn that around and see if we can get a little bit better view on that. Let me get it started, then I'll turn it. So we're going to, there we go, lift that and pull it in just a little bit. Pull it. Okay. See if I can lift this up and turn it just a little bit. That way Abby can get the camera in there a little bit better. There we go. There. Not really meant to do that, but there we go. So just little quarter turn, pull it back. Quarter turn, pull it back. Just get that as tight as you can. Lost a raisin there. There we go. See that a little bit better. All right, now we're going to tuck these under and pinch all these little ends together. There we go. And then you're going to want to turn that to where it's seam side down. And put that in your pan, in your loaf pan. There we go. That's been sprayed. And now what we're going to do is we're going to cover these with Saran Wrap. And then we're going to let those rise for about 45 minutes. Okay, we're going to set these back in my oven on proof. And we are going to rise these. They need to rise for a total of 45 minutes. But we also need to preheat the oven. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this for 25 minutes. And then when that rings, we'll pull it out and we'll set the bread up here. We'll let it continue to rise for an additional 20 minutes while the oven is preheating. So it will get a total of 45 minutes. Hey guys, in some of the videos, y'all hear my dogs barking. And so I thought it would be fun to introduce you to them. So this is Jed and Baby. This is Baby. She is an actually average sized dog or lab, but she looks tiny compared to her brother. So she's, ouch, 75 pounds. And Jed's busting in here, breaking the scale at 100 pounds. He's probably topped 100 by now. So this is Big Jed, and this is Little Baby. They're actually siblings, and sometimes you'll hear them barking in the video because they come inside, and of course they don't know to be quiet when I'm filming. Over here, you can see our chickens that lay our beautiful multicolored eggs for us. All right, guys, I'm going to wash my hands since I've been manhandling the dogs. The timer has rang, and so what we're going to do is we're going to take the bread out, and we are going to let it continue to rise. And then we're going to go ahead and start preheating the oven to 375. So let's go ahead and take that out. That's one, and there's our second one. And I'm just going to cover that with a towel. And we're going to preheat the oven to 375. And I'm going to go ahead and set the timer for an additional 20 minutes. That way our bread can get the full 45-minute rise. Okay. We got the oven preheated to 375. The bread has risen for a total of 45 minutes. So now what we're going to do is carefully peel back the Saran Wrap. We are going to cook these loaves. The recipe says for 30 to 45 minutes. It's a long gap. I know in these pans it takes a little longer, so I'm probably going to start with 35 minutes. And then I'm going to check it, and if the tops are browning too fast, then we'll just go ahead and put some foil over the top of it and continue cooking it until it's ready. So we're going to get these in the oven, and then I'm going to go ahead and start working on the glaze. It is optional. I'm going to start with 35 minutes here. It is optional, but it's really good. And since it's a dessert bread, it makes it really nice. So we're going to put, and I don't measure this. I'm sorry. There's just certain things I just don't measure. And this is one of them. So I'm going to say about a cup of powdered sugar. And then you're going to take your zester and you're going to zest your orange right on in there. And I would say get about a teaspoon or so of zest. And then we are going to cut this orange and we're going to squeeze the juice and mix it in really good just to make a nice orangey flavored glaze. It is so good. Okay, there we go. And now I'm just going to squeeze that. You can do this with lemon too. It just, with this particular recipe, the orange is so much nicer. And then what you're going to do is just stir this in and get this to the right consistency. If it's a little loose, you can add a little bit more powdered sugar. If you need a little bit more liquid, you can just add a little bit more of the orange juice to it. Okay, when you're done with that orange, you just shove that right down your disposal, and that'll help get your disposal nice and fresh. This is pretty loose over here, so we're going to add a little bit more powdered sugar. And that was just the juice of half an orange, guys. Can you imagine? That is one juicy orange. So now we're going to mix this in, and it takes kind of a lot of powdered sugar. Okay, this is a great consistency here. Now I'm just going to keep stirring this in to make sure that all the little powdered sugar lumps are gone and it's nice and smooth. And then we'll just let that set. And once the bread is cool, then we will just drizzle this over the top. Okay, guys, we have still got 11 minutes. And you can see that these are definitely browning. So I'm going to go ahead and just cover the top with foil and let that continue cooking so that the tops don't get too burnt or too dark. Okay, let's check the timer rang. And so let's check these. That looks beautiful. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull these out. Bread, when it is done, should be 190 degrees. So I will go ahead and check the temperature on these, but they look done. They look beautiful. Okay, those were not quite ready when I checked the temperature, so I put them in for about 5 more minutes, and now I've checked the temperature and they're perfect. Okay, I've got them out of their pan now and on the wire rack to completely cool. And then when they are cool, we're going to go ahead and put our glaze on there. You don't want to put that glaze on there while they are still warm, so you really do want to let them go ahead and completely cool. Thank you guys for watching this video today. I really hope that you give this recipe a try. These cinnamon raisin loaves look amazing, they taste amazing, and you should really smell my house. It is absolutely incredible. I hope you try these. If you have any questions on this recipe, just leave me a comment. I do read all of the comments and I will be happy to answer your questions. And if I don't know the answer, I will find it for you. Also, if you haven't already, I invite you to like and subscribe and hit that bell notification so that you'll be notified when I upload new videos. Also, keep going all the way to the very end, because at the end of the video, I'm going to go ahead and put a picture of the final product with the glaze on it. And it was also requested that I do a crumb pick of the bread. And so at the very end, I will be sure and do that. When I cut it open, I'll get a close up so you can see what the crumb looks like. So thank you guys for watching, and please give this recipe a try. You will be glad you did.